Hey folks, welcome back to the AG Squared channel, your go-to source for DIY do-it-yourself renovations, repairs, and home improvement tips. Today, I'm transforming this old, faded blue deck railing into a slick, modern beauty. Just look at this before and after. It's a total game changer and pairs beautifully with the blue decking floor below. Not only does it look better, but staining the wood will add a layer of protection against the elements, prolonging its life. In this video, I'll walk you through the entire process, step by step, and share some pro tips and show you how to upgrade your outdated deck railings without breaking the bank. Let's dive right in. Here's what you'll need to get started. A paint pail with disposable liners. A paint can opener, which will typically come when you purchase the paint. A quality paintbrush. It doesn't have to be luxurious, but don't get the $1 stuff either. A mallet, your choice of paint or stain, and a couple other materials that I'll share throughout the video. First things first, sanding and cleaning the surface. Take your time with this. You want the surface clean, smooth, and free of any loose paint. This sets the foundation for a flawless finish. Next, we'll start painting. While I open the paint bucket and pour it into my pail, it's worth noting that I will only show me painting one small section of the rail, but I'll be showing a few techniques to make the project go smooth. My first tip is to use painter's tape on the floor. Because if you don't, I promise you this, you will get paint on the floor. Unlike drywall, you can't cut between surfaces well on wooden rails. The paint that I recommend to use is one of the wider rolls. For interior walls, you likely will only need a regular or narrow width roll. But since we are painting a deck near flooring, a wider one will work better. To apply the tape, start on one side and press the tape down. While holding that side, extend the roll to the left until you have the necessary amount. Rip the tape, and while keeping the tape stretched out, I'm going to slowly press down from right to left, ensuring that the entire floor is covered in front of the areas we will be painting. Once I have the tape down, I'm going to fold the sides down so that we have full coverage over the floor. Then lastly, it's a matter of pressing down firmly across the entire tape. Awesome, that looks great to me. Now, it's just a matter of painting. The strategy that ended up working best for me was to start on either the left or right post, specifically the wider one. When painting, remember that you do not need to fully submerge your brush into the paint pail. It's better to dab it and apply, repeating that process to avoid having paint drip or splash around as you paint. And since we are painting over wood, to get the paint into those cracks and or imperfections in the wood, you will want to poke or tap the area with the brush. The reason I recommend starting on one side of the wide post is that once you finish painting that side, you can then go to the other side and begin painting all the thin rails, only painting one of the sides, either the left or the right, as well as the front side. This is key because it will allow you to get in between the rails without touching any wet paint. Once the paint dries, then we can finish painting the thin rails other side that remains. Some may be wondering why I didn't use a paint gun for this. For starters, that would have been more costly. I would have had to buy a tarp to cover the entire floor and part of the house siding. I'd have to buy the paint gun, which I would unlikely use again, and I'd have to buy a ton more paint. In total, using the paintbrush, and for the deck I needed to paint, I bought 2 quart buckets of paint for this project. So around 40 bucks since I already had the other painting supplies. You cannot beat that price. It's time to share a tip to get into those very tight spaces, like in this particular spot. You want to get from the back of the deck and paint on the side like this. Now, of course, you might not get the entire railing doing this technique if you have short Mexican arms like I do, preventing me from reaching all the way down, which is fine. To paint the rest, take your paintbrush and go through the railing and then finish painting the side. I apply this technique for all of the thin rails. While I continue painting, if you are planning on painting a room in the inside of your home, you'll definitely want to check out the above video here. It's a long one, but it's a must watch to learn how to plan, prep, paint, and clean up once finished. After painting all of the areas that require the painter's tape, I wait for around 2 or so hours to then remove the tape. Removing it when the paint is wet or too dry will result in a less than stellar finish. To remove it, you want to pull it away at a 45-degree angle like I'm doing here. This will avoid it from ripping. and will make it easy to remove all in one swift motion. I'm not going to lie, folks. Removing tape is for some reason incredibly satisfying. Well worth the hard work. The other technique is for painting the long board here. Originally, I tried using a paint roller, but did not like how it was turning out, so I continued using the paintbrush. This is actually pretty easy to paint, but since this part of the wood is more worn out, notice how I have to aggressively jab or poke the surface with a brush. Again, this technique is going to allow the brush to reach all those creaks and cracks. Painting the thin rails is the most time-consuming part. Painting these long surfaces is much faster, but also much more enjoyable since you can start seeing how good the rail will end up looking once it's done being painted. On the other side of the back deck, as you can see, I ended up removing one of the boards. I did this because it created a wider gap and provided more space for me to paint all the areas of the rail. An extra perk was that I was able to easily paint the backside of the long boards as well, but I didn't need to remove all the boards. To paint the backside of them, I simply jumped the fence to get to the other side. And before people get all upset about this, I am Mexican. I'm allowed to make that joke. The little space on the floor you see there was everything I needed to paint the backside of all the long boards. On this side of the deck, however, I didn't have that space extending out, so I had to think of a way to paint the backside of the rails while the paint was still wet. What I decided to do was use this paint pole extension, which I had from a previous paint project that required me to paint a 20-foot ceiling. All I do is take my paintbrush and wrap painter's tape all around it and the pole. Then I extend the pole to the necessary length and lastly dip the brush into the paint and continue painting. Sure, I could have decided to wait a day to let the paint dry and just paint the backside of the rails from the top of the deck. But where's the fun in that? If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And share this video and my channel with your friends, neighbors, and anyone tackling a DIY project. I've got tons more content coming your way, from renter-friendly fixes to full-on homeowner renovations. And remember, if you're a subscriber, you'll be able to connect directly with me using my Discord server and talk about topics relating to homeownership, real estate, finance, and any other topic that you may want. As always, folks, thank you so much for watching, and till next time.